Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Thursday, May 15th, 2014, and welcome to Day 9 Daily number 705, where we learn to be a better gamer. In today's show, it's extremely hot in this room. You should see solid globules of sweat dripping down my face. That is okay, because in this episode, the heat will be turned up, and we will address a topic I've addressed many times before, and yet still find need to do so, because it is, I'd probably say, the number 2 or 3 most requested thing that I cover consistently. Normally, whatever's in the number 1 slot changes. It's like whatever's most recently in the sweet game situation where people are like, it's imbalanced, and then everything underneath that is varying questions that arise. But right around 2, almost always, occasionally 3, is how do you deal with SwarmHost's pros? How do you deal with SwarmHost's Protoss? We're going to take a look at that today to give the Zerg players hell. Also, my voice is more or less gone for no reason. I feel great, but that's okay. The extremely low baritone is because my voice is just kind of gone. I have no idea why. I don't know. I think it's an illness. But my amazing immune system that has been built up from hugging everybody at DreamHack. Ding! You know what I'm talking about, DreamHack goers. Y'all who stayed up for 3 days straight playing video games and just slept on the floor and then woke up and hugged me. You have made me the strong immune system that I am today. Ding! Alright, let's do it. Fun Day Monday for Monday. Please submit a game in which every attack you do is from a warp prism. You can warp in from the warp prism, you can drop from the warp prism, and that is it. Submit to Monday at day9.tv. Tomorrow is my last day playing Dark Souls 2 on stream. Hopefully, I can catch up to JP in any which way or form. And next week will be the usual suite of shows. And there's a dog in the background. Can you hear him? Listen. He's chewing. He's a chewer. This game is Snute versus Bling from today's WCS Ro32 Group B. I won't spoil the entire results. This is game 2 between these two players. Snute is probably the most well-known SwarmHost player of the foreigners outside of Stefano. Stefano is the number 1, but Snute's probably number 2. So we won't be looking too extensively at what Snute does, although we'll look some. Largely, I want to focus on the King of Bling himself, down in this bottom right-hand corner. I want to establish right now the baseline goal. The way to defeat SwarmHosts is with mobility. You get faster units, you go around the SwarmHosts, and you win with mobility. Now, when I say that, this is not, I would say, the only ingredient in our anti-SwarmHost cake. It is the base. If you imagine what is the base of a normal cake, if you had just that without any of the icing or sugary tastiness, it wouldn't be a very good cake. So indeed, things like the Colossus is very important, Storm is very important, but mobility is the big theme I want you to look for throughout this entire game. Now, as we're getting started, I want to note, in terms of some of the tech that can be built in this matchup. Wait, is this where I want to be? Everything's already enabled. I accidentally opened this menu. This is the one I want to open at. In the Protoss tech tree, generally, Protoss players are focusing on this Colossus and this Warp Prism as the 2 tools. Colossus deals with the SwarmHost. The Warp Prism does the warp in. And then there's this gradual turn to Tempest. And I get the logic of it. I get the logic. I will outrange the SwarmHost's anti-air defenses. The SwarmHost is likely to have spores and vipers and queens, corruptors, any of that stuff to kill off the tempests. To kill off that which can kill off my SwarmHosts. I get the motivation for the Tempest, but here's the problem I have with Tempests. They suck, by and large, against the Zerg player. I know even the puppy's whining because of it. They kind of stink in small numbers. It's very easy to just Viper drag it over spore crawlers. It's very easy to drag it, or it's very easy to run up Corruptor it and kill it. So, although small numbers of cute air from a Protoss player is extremely easy to kill off for a Zerg, mass air is a big struggle. Zerg has the worst anti-air in the game. Think about the anti-air that they have. There's the usual ones we can write off. Mutalisks, shut it. Hydralisks, shut it. Really easy to crush those with a couple of simple units like Stormers, Colossus, Phoenixes. Done. What else? What's Zerg really gonna do? Queens with Transfuse? Okay, Corruptors? Everything kills a Corruptor, man. Everything. Short range, only have range 6, need to corrupt things to be relevant. So what we're gonna see from Bling is that he's eventually gonna incorporate a big ol' air army in, but the way in which he does it tickles me pink. It tickles my pickle. First and foremost on our game, Frost. Not all of our logic is lost. We see a pool up in the top left from Snute. Out of Bling, what are we seeing? He's going for a pylon in the main, and then an expand out here. Now why? Why would you do this? Two reasons. One is, against a 6 pool, we get to keep this pylon alive. And we can cannon in our main base. We also do this because we want to do non-stop probe production. The last and final reason we'd want to do this is if we're intending on going gateway first, because on this map, near everybody elects to go for something economic. How fantastic. Excuse me and my illness. Now, if you're going to go for an early gate, the only reason you'd ever go for an early gate is if you wanted an early cybernetics core, which is exactly what Bling doth get. A zealot coming up, no reason not to get a gelateur. Now, why would you want to get a cybernetics core so early? I'll tell you why. I will guide you to the solution. The reason we obviously get an early expansion is so we can get money. Build a lot of probes. But no good Protoss opening is just going to be about getting the extra probes. There's always some other play coming up. Air in order to kill off whatever and to screw the Zerg over. Other ones include warp gate attacks, warp prism harass, these sorts of things, maybe 2-base all-ins that involve lots of gateways. So if you early expand and you're not getting a fast cybernetics core, I would ask you then, what really is your build about? And we see Bling opting for a very fast warp gate. And then nothing else. He's even getting a very fast mothership core. Very fast forge as well. So right now we already see one benefit has been gained from going for the early gateway. Again, if you're not going for a fast cybernetics core, why not just get the forge first? You have to justify skipping out on these defenses. And friend Bling does so absolutely magnificently by going for a 6-minute third base. Look at this. This is probably one of the sexiest fast expand plays I've ever seen. Already I love this. Now, I told you that the point of this was the SwarmHost. That I did promise you. But every game's got an opening. Come on, let me talk about it. Come on. Let's look at this beautiful setup from Bling. He's gotten his Nexus up, his third base. I mean, Snute's spotting it, but you're going to be damn surprised to see that from a Protoss player. We see the Forge getting ready to get done. We can get a +1 upgrade from there. We can also get the cannons. Second gateway's almost done. We can get some sentries. Mothership core is out. Almost has enough for an overcharge. Ooh, yes. So good. Also, Twitch Guy 225, welcome to the Day Nights. Just subbing up in the chat. This is a marvelous arrangement that we see coming up out of Bling. But to appreciate its sauciness, we need to come back to an earlier point in time and check out what Snute's doing. Why it's good. We're going to do this with the everyone vision up. When a player goes for a pool first, when does he normally build his hatch at his expansion? A little after 2:30. And what then? When does this normally go down? Well, generally at around 4 minutes, 3:45. Unless the Zerg player's opting on going for some very early gas, which many Zerg players are doing. Generally, we like to say by 4 minutes. Right around 4 minutes. Oh my God, Jesus. Well, it appears my voice is dying. But don't worry. Excellent. Alright, let's hop back in here. We might accelerate the pace of this show. Because I don't want to croak at you, even though I have a lot to say. So, this is a very early gas geyser. Typically, 4:30 is around when the earliest of early gas geysers will go down for a reasoned Zerg player. But Snute is a little bit out of control. He's a little bit extreme. To get such a fast gas play, he's cutting his second queen. Very important fact to note. Unit count. Just one queen. Really terrifyingly early speed upgrade. And here it comes down. Ridiculously, stupidly fast. It's going to be finished by 7:10. Long before any warp gate can possibly be up. So even with the most ridiculously early fast pool, there's one queen out, there's 2 lings out, almost nothing is out. We've just started queens 2 and 3, and that's when the Nexus goes down. Are you kidding me? What gorgeous fast 3-base play from Bling. But let's examine the way in which Bling plays this out in a sexy fashion. Starting to make sense why we want the early warp gate, why we opted to do this play. Well, if we're cutting the forge and the cannon, we can take all that extra money and devote it to a Nexus. Well, if we're getting the early gateway, we can go ahead and get fast warp gates so we can get more sentries, more gateway units out either here or here, wherever we do need to make it. And as this mothership core moves forward, we see an accident where Bling inadvertently loses his mothership core right as all the lings are moving out. He gets distracted by the lings, and we see an oh so tragic blunder of a blunder. And it turns out an observer was actually responsible for the lag that caused Bling to lose his thing. And yet Bling plays it out like a boss. Usual wall-offs at the front. With the gateway, there's no mothership core here. Ordinarily, the mothership core would be able to photon overcharge this Nexus to repel this gigantic ling play from Snute. Also, 90% of the time, there is no Nexus done right now, so this ling flood from Snute easily wins. It only survives due to the fact that Bling does some absolutely amazing force field work in order to stay alive. Therefore, attributing a lot to the, why Bling is a good player. Even after big screw-ups, he constructs builds that are oh so strong. So if we need a lot of gateways to be able to defend this early play, we may as well get the tech structure that boosts our gateway units oh so. Again, we haven't yet seen the SwarmHost. Let's take a look at King Snute and his base. He's saying, you know, I did build what I could in order to apply pressure here. And most of the time, Protosses are a little bit passive after they take their third base. So if you're going to be passive, it's time for me to get the SwarmHost up. That's a generally good time. Oh, I don't see him doing much. Here I go. And Bling with his brilliant build, probably one of my favorite Protoss builds I've seen in a long time. just starts going very aggressive. He can be aggressive because he has the sentries that permit him to do the forward scouts. Snute is doing usual defensive preparation. I may as well get roaches and roach speed, even though I'm a little anxious of, or even though I'm trying to go for the infestation pit with the swarm host. I'm going to go ahead and get the roach speed. Very typical. Typical. Bling doesn't build these assimilators until he has 16 mining minerals. Typical. And begins to round out his composition. Now, let me just note some things that I will call forced plays and that I will call actual decisions. So first actual decision, going for the gateway first. And then you're kind of forced to get a fast cybernetics core and forced to get at least some number of early gateways to stay alive. You don't have a cannon, so you need something. Then Bling expands as a decision. Cool. After you've done that, you're more or less forced to get a bunch of gateways up, because it's the only real way to stay alive. You haven't had the time to get an immortal up. You haven't had the time to get any other tech up. And then after you've gotten all those gateways, you're kind of forced to just get the blink at this point in time. Not really that much you can do. But here's the point where you begin to have to think a little smartly. Yeah, and we're probably going to have to get the robo facility at some point, no matter what, because we need the detection. This is the one thing I love with these players who go for fast third bases. Pushes like this, the gateway heavy pushes that move right on in. He gets one, and he doesn't quite get two. But then just calmly recalls out. Love that play so much. And this, I think, is an excellent stopping point for part one. Bling has had the opportunity to see a swarm host. Snute went for swarm host as fast as he gosh darn could after he saw that he had some time to do so. So now Snute, what does a Snute do? What does a Bling do? How would you respond? After you think that through, we're going to come back and admire the way that Bling deals with it. For sure, we're going to see a good number of Colossus. But in what way? All those little nuances are what make players like Bling so good. When we return, we're going to do exactly what I just said, literally.